Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Professor Ming's Strategic Insights. Last week, I called attention to one thing. We said that there's a chance that we cannot rule out the possibility while they're negotiating on this tariff thing between Washington, D.C. and Beijing, then Beijing might want to take this opportunity to trick President Trump or the American government into saying something, that the United States officially opposes Taiwan independence, or things like that, or anything of that nature. We gave several reasons for that. First, in the eyes of Beijing, they think that Trump is facing many challenges, both internally and externally. For instance, he fails to stop the war in Ukraine, and he has irritated many countries because of the tariff war, and his support for Israel has provoked many protests around the world and things like that. And domestically, he has trouble with the economy. He seems to have trouble with inflation, and his tough immigration policy has met with much resistance and things like that. And more importantly, he'll be facing a midterm re-election for the Congress next year. So all these are the problems that Trump is now facing. So in the eyes of Beijing, they think that Trump may be very eager to reach an agreement on tariffs with Beijing or with Communist China, because he has to score somewhere. And this is a good timing for them to do that. Secondly, in the eyes of Beijing, they have successfully tricked 3 American presidents into signing 3 communiques with them. The Shanghai Communique in 1972 by President Nixon, and the communique to establish formal diplomatic relations between Washington, D.C. and Beijing, and signed by President Carter. And even the August 18th communique, which has to do with limiting United States arms sales to Taiwan, and signed by President Reagan. So they think, since they're successful in triggering 3 American presidents to sign 3 communiques with them, why not the 4th one? So Trump is a good target if he's so eager to reach an agreement on tariffs with Beijing. So this is good timing for them. At least, even if they fail on all these things, they can add something to them. They can add a leverage or card or chip on their hands to deal with President Trump on this tariff war. So that's to say, in the eyes of Beijing, if they want to solve the Taiwan problem, they have to deal with the United States directly. And this is their mindset, and this is their calculation. So the previous discussion begs one question. For the United States and Communist China, how do they position the question of Taiwan? I think the best way to answer the question is to look at the official documents signed by the two countries, the 2 states. Let's look at the 3 communiques, the Shanghai Communique, and the communique in 1979, establishing formal diplomatic relations between the 2 countries, and then the August 17th communique, as I mentioned. First thing first, the American position represented in the Shanghai communique. I have to read it out to be accurate. Okay, United States says this: the U.S. side declared the United States acknowledges, please note, acknowledges, that all Chinese on either side of this Taiwan Strait maintain there's but one China, and that Taiwan is part of China. United States only acknowledges this, and it's your position, it's not my position. Okay, and then United States government does not challenge that position. They don't challenge that position. United States reaffirms its interest in a peaceful settlement of the Taiwan question by the Chinese themselves. So I have nothing to do with it. It's all your problem. I only recognize your position. I say nothing about my position whatsoever. So that's first thing. That's the Shanghai Communique, the American side of the story. And then the 1979 communique, which again establishes the formal diplomatic relations between the 2. The United States says this: the United States of America recognizes, remember, recognizes the government of the People's Republic of China as the sole legal government of China. Within that context, the people of the United States will maintain cultural, commercial, and other unofficial relations with the people of Taiwan. And The government of the United States of America acknowledges, remember, acknowledges the Chinese position, acknowledges the Chinese position that there's but one China and Taiwan is part of China. Note, they say here, acknowledge. That means I'm aware of. I'm not saying that I accept your position. I'm only aware of what your position is. That's the second communique. The third communique, the August 17th communique, signed by President Reagan, it says this: in the joint communique on the establishment of diplomatic relations on January 1st, 1979, issued by the government of the United States of America and the People's Republic of China, the United States of America recognized the government of the People's Republic of China as the sole legal government of China. And they acknowledged, again, United States uses two different words. First one is recognize, and second here, it acknowledged the Chinese position that there's but one China and Taiwan is part of China. United States does not say they accept or they honor the PRC's position on this issue. And then it follows that. Within that context, the two sides agreed that the people of the United States would continue to maintain cultural, commercial, and other unofficial relations with the people of Taiwan. On this basis, relations between the United States and China were normalized. So there are prerequisites or preconditions for their relationship. So this is the American position on the issue. The United States simply says, well, you, China, says there's one China and Taiwan is part of China. I'm saying I acknowledge or I'm aware of your position. I'm not saying anything about my position whatsoever. The only thing I say about this is I wish to see a peaceful settlement or peaceful resolution of the Taiwan question. I think that the United States made a mistake here. They call Taiwan a question or Taiwan a problem. Actually, they know it. The problem lies not with Taiwan. The problem lies with communism or Communist Party or Communist regime. They know it very well. But anyway, that's the official document signed between the two capitals in the past years. So that's the position of the United States of America. What about the Chinese position, the Communist Chinese position? First thing first, Shanghai Communique. I have to read it out again. Okay, this is what they say. The Chinese side reaffirmed the position. The Taiwan question is the crucial question obstructing the normalization of relations between China and the United States. It's an obstacle. Taiwan question is an obstacle which obstructs the relationship between the United States and China. And that follows. The government of the People's Republic of China is the sole legal government of China. Taiwan is a province of China, which has long been returned to the motherland. The part of China is a province only. Watch this. The liberation of Taiwan is China's internal affair, in which no other country has a right to interfere, meaning the United States has no right to interfere into the Taiwan question or the Taiwan problem. And this is the Shanghai Communique. Although United States does not, or United States did not accept it, United States, let me put it this way, United States does not accept this position up to this point until today. That's the first thing, the first communique. In the second communique, in the 1979 communique, Communist China doesn't say anything about this issue. They simply just put the American position in the document. For the third one, the August 17th position, this is what they say. The Chinese government reiterates that the question of Taiwan is China's internal affair. Remember, here it comes again. And then it refers to two documents. First, the message to compatriots in Taiwan issued by China on January 1st, 1979, promulgated a fundamental policy of striving for peaceful reunification of the motherland. That's the first document. Second, the 9-point proposal put forward by China on September 30th, 1981, represented a further major effort under the fundamental policy to strive for a peaceful solution to the Taiwan question. They still call it the Taiwan question. Okay, but they have advanced a lot more than these wordings. In recent years, the Beijing regime has been saying that the Taiwan question or the Taiwan problem has been an obstacle or a, let me put it this way, stumbling block to block the development of relations between Washington and Beijing. And that's the first point. The second point is Taiwan independence is a red line. It's a red line that you, the United States, should never cross. Otherwise, I don't know what I would do. So first is Taiwan is an obstacle between Beijing and Washington. And second, a support for Taiwan independence is a red line that you should never cross. So these are the two, what should I call it, two advancements that Beijing has made in recent years concerning this issue. So by now, I'm sure that you must have detected that the skills that Beijing uses when they got involved in some kind of negotiations or some kind of talks with their opponents. The first thing is they want to set up a precondition or a premise or a, what should I call it, general framework. And then they use this general framework to trap or to condition their opponent. And for instance, well, if Taiwan is an internal affairs of China's, then you American or you United States should have no say in it. You should not interfere in it, and you have no part in it. No official exchanges, no official communications between Washington, D.C. and Taipei, and no support for Taiwan independence, either verbally or materially or even militarily. And if you do that, if you cross a red line, I use that as an excuse to attack you and to pressure you to make concessions somewhere as I want it. So that's the negotiation skills they use. So what are the implications for the current negotiations on the tariffs between Washington, D.C. and Beijing? First, beware of the negotiation skill and pay attention and scrutinize the details involved in the process of negotiations, especially the wordings and the choice of words. And that's very important, as we mentioned. And secondly, stand firm on your grounds. Make no concession on important questions like Taiwan's sovereignty, Taiwan's international status, or anything about Taiwan independence. Never say oppose Taiwan independence. Just stick to your ground and say, well, we do not support Taiwan independence, and that's good enough. And that's a very strong position for the Americans to uphold. And so make no concession to Communist China under any kind of pressure, no matter what kind of pressure that is. So after we compare the official positions and the wordings they use both by the United States and Communist China, you may get the impression that Communist China is on the offensive side and the United States is on the defensive side. Well, let me put it this way. Well, actually, the United States has something to lean on, and you don't have to be defensive all the time. Let me cite the Taiwan Relations Act in 1979, enacted by the American Congress after the signing of the 1979 communique between Carter and Deng Xiaoping, which established the formal diplomatic relations between the two governments. So there are several points I want to mention, citing from the Taiwan Relations Act. The first one reads like this. It is the policy of the United States to declare that the establishment of diplomatic relations with the People's Republic of China is based on the expectation that the future of Taiwan will be determined by peaceful means. And that's a precondition on the United States side to establish relations with mainland China. So on the other hand, that we can say, or can we say, that if Taiwan's future is not determined by a peaceful means or by peaceful settlement, it can be revoked. United States' decision to establish formal diplomatic relations with the PRC can be revoked. So we cannot rule out a possibility at least according to the wording of the document. And that's the first thing I want to call attention to. The second thing is, United States says, any effort to determine the future of Taiwan by other than peaceful means, including by boycotts or embargoes, is considered a threat to the peace and security of the Western Pacific area and of grave concern to the United States. Please note that the United States either boycott or embargo is a threat to the peace and security to the Western Pacific and of great concern to the United States. Well, in the future, the United States may have to consider to include a massive cyber attack against Taiwan's framework or infrastructure, or Communist China's or Beijing's interference into Taiwan's presidential elections, and that kind of things that should be considered to include in this paragraph, should they want to amend it. And that's the second thing. And the second thing I want to call attention to. The third thing is that the United States says they will provide Taiwan with arms of defensive character. So that means arms sales will go on. And lastly, United States says to maintain the capacity of the United States to resist any resort to force or other forms of coercion that would jeopardize the security or the social or economic system of the people on Taiwan. So the United States said it very clearly in Taiwan Relations Act, again, enacted in 1979. Okay, after citing so many official documents, I think I've made my points quite clearly. So all I want to say is that Communist China is very good at handling negotiations, and they're good at it. And they play tricks, and some of them are very dirty. So we have to be very careful. Anyway, be vigilant. That's all I want to share with you today. I hope you like today's program. And before I leave, share today's program with your friends, and please subscribe to our program if you haven't done so. And remember to click the icon bell to get the on-time notification. And that's all for today. I'll see you next time.